All right, so should we jump right into it, or do you have some updates first, or how should we do it?
Well, I think I have to say that it's been an eventful week. Um, Last week was in Berlin for the Polkadot Decoded, and of course we have the new release that happened with the orderbook. So everything is looking coming together, and I'm really excited to be uh, coming for the AMA today. And I saw the questions. There are about 30 questions, I believe. We can try to answer everything, but if time is limited, we can also pick maybe um, 10 or 15 questions from there and go from there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I have some just some are kind of more repetitive or overlapping questions. So we have a selection from those. But yeah, we can continue to get through some of those or take live questions at the end as well.
Okay, great.
All right, let's get started then. I have the first one here is the utility of PDEX would be greatly magnified if at least a part of the trade fees were to be distributed to stakers. This would be the best incentive to stake, better than staking rewards, and it would make wonders to the PDEX price action. Is this being seriously considered? And if not, why not? There's no good reason not to implement it, in my opinion. And that's from Saul.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting question and a very tricky question because this is something which we initially thought about when we designed the tokenomics. Pablo, I'm getting the echo back from the system. Is there something wrong with the system from my side?
I'm not sure, but I can mute myself if that's the case. If it's from me.
Yeah, when I'm speaking, can you try muting? Okay, so this is something which we thought a lot about implementing in the beginning, but you have to be careful with designing a system that, or designing a tokenomics that looks very much like a security, right? PDEX is essentially a utility token by design, and until we have the product ready and rolled out, the value transfer between um, the team that runs the order book or any application that runs the order book or any other application that gets built on the blockchain, um, and how the value is actually extracted from the blockchain by the team, it is also has to be it doesn't align with being a utility token. So it's very early to actually how to go about it. I would say that any value that the blockchain in the future incurs comes out of the what do you say, the business logic or the efforts of the team that is actually driving that. Since there is no, see, the entire fees or anything that actually happens between transactions and any fee that goes through within the blockchain, it is actually going to the treasury. So the treasury is already, and the blockchain itself is already rewarding the stakers for securing the blockchain. That's how the blockchain design itself looks like, right? So on top of that, anything that needs to be added needs to be really thought about, and we cannot implement that haphazardly because it might break um, you know, the balance of economics of how this is planned, because this was designed by some of our experts from um, you know crypto economics. So without looking further into how the value transfer can happen, it is too early to implement it right now. But in any case, when you start off, you cannot design a tokenomics where the validators are actually offered a profit from the application, because then it becomes a security, and I don't think it is a it's accepted worldwide, especially when when you have these tokens available to everybody for trading and such like that. I hope that answers the question. Pablo, you can unmute
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Hello.
Sorry, I keep speaking when I'm on mute. My bad. uh,
Ah,
okay, so
okay.
so how can we? I'll move on to the next question, and it was about trading bots, and it's just a simple: how can we integrate trading bots into Polkadex?
Well, trading bots are a very essential part of the Polkadot ecosystem. If you look at the products that are on it, right? You have the order book and any other pools that we design. So we are working with um, some major trading bot companies, and the APIs are underway. It is getting worked upon right now. Just yesterday morning, we had a discussion about the API and how when it will be released and stuff like that. So it is coming up, and there will be an announcement from Gautam regarding this. So just keep waiting for that to happen.
Awesome. That's exciting. And then I have
Yes.
a question here, which says, "Are you considering integrating into layer one?" I'm not sure how to interpret this one, but maybe you can handle it better.
Yeah, I think the question is about integrating with other layer one protocols. Like,
Okay.
for example, now we have the bridge with Ethereum. Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
So um, it might be a question out to whether we will be integrating with maybe Polygon or Ripple or some other layer one for that matter. Of course, any layer one which is really popular and that can actually add more liquidity and value to Polkadex, and if it is not available through an existing bridge in Polkadot ecosystem through the parachains, we will be building it. For example, in the last conference, there was a interesting talk from the Composable Finance team where they are trying to have the integration with Cosmos. So all of the Cosmos related tokens will be naturally flowing into the system. So in case some other teams decides to make it happen for the ecosystem, then we don't have to do that ourselves. But if you think there's a lot of liquidity lying out there and the system is not really keen to integrate that, then we will have to do it. Exactly what happened with Ethereum, for example, right now, since there is no production ready thing that we can latch on to. That's why we went ahead and tried to do the bridge ourselves. So if it necessitates any bridge that will bring additional value to the system, we will do it. Especially now that we have the technology to do it, it is possible to do it. Yes.
Awesome. So you're saying that, you know, we have the in case, there aren't already other solutions out there, so we can just extend that into other layer ones.
Yeah, I mean, any smart contract based layer ones should be should be easier to implement. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, okay, then I have some about the distribution of crowd loan rewards and the timing of that. And so the
Hmm.
question mainly is, when will PDEX or Polkadex distribute the crowd loan rewards based on people's dot support? And
Hmm.
if there are delays, will Polkadex reimburse dot supporters for the inability to stake during the time? And that way, yeah, will Polkadex reimburse people for the inability to stake at the time? I don't know if how you want to handle that one, but yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, obviously there will not be any compensation or anything because it is not how the system works because you are locking up the token or dots in return for getting the PDEX token and its value, whatever it is, and
Mhm.
any guarantees that we can provide is simply out of the question, especially knowing that we are building something which is um, which has never been done before, and it requires certain protocols that needs to be researched and released, like how we have seen how the order book has actually evolved in the last 1.5 years, right? So
Mhm.
there could be possible delays whenever something goes wrong or a little bit needs to be changed. So all of these are expected. Okay. So when there is um, no blueprint for us to work on. All of the blueprints are something that we create internally as part of our research. Every team that, if you look at the parachain ecosystem, they have distributed the tokens. Some of them have even not distributed after 6 months. So it is entirely up to the community to uh, find out how the progress is going on. Definitely, those questions are really valid, and it is our responsibility to update on where we stand on that. But giving guarantees on something like this is quite impossible to work on. I don't think any team can actually do that, especially considering that these are new protocols that are being rolled out, and there could be unforeseen technical challenges, and it can happen anytime. It should be expected, which we have already seen
Mhm.
in the last 1 year, right? When you try to create something, then okay, you know that you depend on another protocol, and that protocol, and they might delay it. You can't just say, and
Mhm.
see, these are all like mostly open source work, and some of those works are coming out of research and scientific intentions rather than purely profit motive, right?
Mhm.
So you cannot run it like a business until all the structure is in place. So when the structures are in place, when the pillars are in place for running it as a business, then you can actually put parameters and goals to go for, and the person who is executing it definitely has a, you can actually pin that down to certain metrics. But
Mhm.
right now, if there is a delay from another protocol, like you've seen how that happened with us, then you have to be really flexible and nimble to take action when such things happen. And then uh, and then make sure that that wait time is really worse than building something on our own. Then you have to have the courage and audacity to go and build it ourselves, right? Rather than just wait for things to happen. We have never done that,
Mhm.
and that is the reason why we have this product coming up in shape right now. But because if you look at the different parts of the product, if somebody had waited for everything to happen on the technology side, this would have never been rolled out even by now. you know Even
Right.
the TE is tech stack. Nobody has written a Rust library for TE before. We had to write everything from scratch. So all of these are part of research work. Okay, so do not expect or compare this to an IT services project, which I think many people are trying to do. Many people are interpreting that to happen, but we want to be very categorically clear about it, that if you look at the parachains, for example, right, it was delayed for 2 years, but everybody knows Gavin Wood, so everybody's ready to wait. And Snowfork team is headed by Aiden. It's very smart, so everybody's happy, okay with it. But just because that, okay, Polkadot team or the team that is developers are not really known, people can just go after them is unacceptable. From at least it's my personal opinion. Okay, so how I
Mhm.
feel is that we have to have the patience to give them the sufficient time so that they can actually build out these protocols. If in case there is any uh, problem, they have to work around it, and we have to give them time for that. Yep.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And maybe on the subject of the crowd loan and the parachain rewards, um, can you answer which chain? Um, just to clarify, which chain the crowd loan rewards will be distributed on? Will it be on the parachain or on the Polkadex mainnet?
Yeah, I'm saying something which can change in the future, but as far as I know, it would be easier to do it on the main chain itself. Okay, so most likely it is going to be on the main chain so that it is actually liquid for the users whenever they get it. You know,
Hmm.
but
Right.
there could be changes. Again, big disclaimer, don't please. Because anyway we have to build out the pallets for distribution. So when that is done, we will do what is actually best for the community and for the the whole project.
Great, great. And another one related to the parachain. Uh, I think people also want some clarification on what will happen to the PDEX tokenomics once the parachain launches. Uh, there's some concern whether that would mean, two sources of inflation if both networks are online at the same time. So can you talk a little bit more about that, Vivek?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very clear that we cannot have two sources of inflation. So it will most likely, we will just have PDEX, right? So we will have to have a, distribution where a portion is actually minted on the parachain and the exact portion is burned on the main chain. So all of this I would leave to the, at the point of implementing the parachain, rolling it out, there will be a discussion around it. There will be a meeting around it on how to do it efficiently. And we need to make sure that it does not affect the inflation. So we ideally do not want two sources of inflation, right? Because we already have the validators on the main chain. So we will try to minimize any sort of additional work that needs to be done on the parachain side, because that is exactly the reason why we have a parachain, right? Because parachain is already secured by the relay chain. So if you keep on
Mm-hmm.
paying people to do some work there, it's actually loss of efficiency. So
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be handled, yes. So I don't think it's very efficient to keep inflating the token on the parachain side. No.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, for Polkadex, so some people were wondering, we're tackling the problem of trading, decentralized trading and making it more efficient, making high frequency trading non-custodial. What other problems, apart from gas fees, traffic, front running, what other problems does Polkadex want to find a solution to?
Well, you don't go after problems. You see a problem, you solve it, right? You don't sit and think, okay, what is my next problem until you solve something properly, right? But as to extend that question, see, when you solve a problem, you have to make sure that whatever solution you have, it's more complete and sustainable over a long period of time. And exactly the reason why we are not simply technologically solving this problem, but we are also solving it on a bigger game perspective, like bigger game theory perspective, where how we can sustain that solution, and it can be implemented in a community, and a people or independently incentivized group of people who comes in and does an activity, and that automatically takes care of that solution for the long run. Because as you see, many of the solutions are simply about paying people, but you cannot pay people from if there is no source of value. So
Mm-hmm.
it is very important that you keep looking at how to automatically create these sources of value from where you can actually pay people to do it. You know, so these are things that we think on our side whenever we think of extending the capabilities of the order book, because we are just not an order book product, right? We are also, order book is simply one link in the big chain of incentivization of the big chain of value generation in the ecosystem, right? Because if someone needs to work, they need to be paid for. I mean, value cannot come from thin air, right? So
Mm-hmm.
these are things that we are going to build around it, so that there's always a source of value for people to actually come and participate, which is fundamentally the crux of how the theory should work. So this is how we will be different from any DEX which is built for the sake of DEX. We are not a DEX like that. We have to. We are more of an ecosystem than a DEX.
Gotcha. And so that's also kind of how you can compare Pokedex to maybe other order book based dexes, would you say?
Absolutely, yes. I think there are so many parts to it, and we will. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if I want to, I can talk for an hour, but let's. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I won't
I,
let you. I won't let you.
I hope you got the
Uh,
gist of it, so that's
sure, sure. Um, Okay, so the next question is someone showing their support. They say, "I love this project and the team. I have only one concern. Does Polkadex have enough funds to survive in this bear market?" Um, yeah, that's basically the question.
Yeah, see, it's a question of if I know the future, then I can survive, right? So nobody knows the future. Okay. So there are certain assumptions that you take. Okay. It is going to happen like this, and then you create a strategy around it. Okay. So if you ask me, like, what will happen if the world ends tomorrow? I have no answer. I will die with it. Okay. So what we can do right now is that to create some strategies to make sure that we work based on certain assumptions and how long this bear market could last. And it is an internal strategy, and how we can efficiently deploy the capital that we already have, and how to minimize the minimize the um, spending of resources which are not really necessary, and how it's all part of the present strategy that the team is actually going through. Well, yes, I think that's how it is tackled right now, and we have a plan in mind, and it will be executed. Yes, which I think I explained in the last AMA as well, right? Because we decided to focus more on key delivery points rather than having multiple teams focused on multiple things, which sometimes brings down the efficiency. And now it is much more streamlined and focused. And the next goal is to have this order book on the mainnet. And any patching discussions will have to wait till that is done.
Mhm.
Yes.
Gotcha. And then, okay, so this question seems to come up every now and then. Uh, so it would be nice to get an answer that will kill it forever. So this is which aspects of the Pokedex ecosystem are/will be open source.
Well, anything that has to do with trust, anything that actually enhances the trust of the system or connects to the blockchain will be open source. But any tools or anything that proprietary that we are building for enterprise solutions will be closed source.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, if you can you give some examples of what each of those
For
may
example,
be?
like if we are building a tool for the traders, right? They want to use and they that will enhance the experience of the trader, and they want to use it as a product, because you have to make revenue. You cannot simply run a product. I think I mentioned this in my last AMA. There has to be a balance between uh, profiteering and community trust building. So anything that has to do with the trust of the system, right? Settlement of trade, making sure that the funds are safe, and all of the orders that are being settled. So anything that interacts with the blockchain has to be open source. To make sure that there is no ambiguity on, okay, what are these people doing with the money or anything like that, right? I mean, which is currently the problem that we have every time we have a bear market. People don't know where the funds are, and if something goes wrong, then there's a panic all the time, and people suddenly stop trading because there's no funds. And especially the exchanges, centralized exchanges, once they run up the hot wallet, they stop withdrawals, and it panic, the users panic because of that. So all of those areas that are connected with trading, which which provides a very transparent view of their trades and their funds, and all of that will be open source. Any tools that we build for traders, which will enhance, like which can be priced into the profit of the team, or something that they sell externally, like a tool or something, it could be closed source in the future. But right now, everything is open source. Yeah.
Awesome. And then I think we have one last one from the ones that I have prepared here, and that's one for you about um, the P2P. So it's from the People's Node, and they say, "I would love to hear something about the P2P. which will be a necessary feature for the order book.
P2P is essentially peer to peer, right? So we are a
Mm-hmm.
peer to peer in the fact that you're settling your asset against the other person directly. So it is not changing hands with anybody, which is actually peer to peer. If somebody else is taking and coming in the middle, then you can say it's not peer to peer because you're also depending on the other person to handle your money. But it doesn't happen like that here. So it is peer to peer.
Awesome, awesome. So I think for me, were the ones that I had prepared. Do we want to start taking questions from the people that are online now, Vivek?
Yeah, yes, we can do that. Unless you want to cover the other questions, if there are, I mean, we can finish that and then go to the audience. I mean,
Sure,
it's
sure.
up to you.
We we can take a few more from the submitted questions. Um,
Hmm. Yep.
okay, so let's see. Um, there's some questions here about crowd loan rewards. I thought this one was interesting. Can you offer any thoughts in the recent change with Polkadot governance, and what are the implications for Polkadex? I guess this is kind of more down the line, but it'd be interesting to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think Polkadot's recent conference where Gavin explained the whole governance structure, it's becoming very, very complex and complex and it's great to adapt some of these things into our governance. We can think of doing that, but for the time being, let's keep it simple, right? And we can see what can be done in the future. I don't know if how many of you listened to that speech, but towards the end, it's you can clearly see that it's Gavin's probably trying to make sure that it is sustainable over a period of time because there is an element of um, you know what do you say? Uh, See, when you're in governance, you have to qualify to be a to take a decision because governance is all about taking decisions based on certain parameters and the data you have. And imagine there is no the if the person who is taking the decision is not qualified to take a decision, it's going to affect a lot of people, right? So there are various mechanisms that are being I could see that being spelled out that day about how to enhance the quality of the decision and how to reward those people who are taking those decisions and how to structure it so that there are different uh, types of you know uh, referendums. For example, some may be of very high importance and some may be of medium importance and some maybe can happen after some time, like low priority. So how to prioritize certain decisions and how to give more weightage to the decisions of certain people who are more qualified than you, for example, for that matter, right? That is why governance is very tricky, especially in the early stages of the product, right? For example, if there's a vision given out by the person who is actually building it, and what is the point in governing something if the vision itself is not going to be fulfilled by the person, right? So you have to have a certain checks and balances in place where everybody in governance, only once it's completely true, once it is actually the true vision is realized, it shouldn't go and govern. Like this, there should be something to govern on. Otherwise, you feel like you are like a frog in a well, thinking that okay, this is my world and you can govern, and this is all I'm going to get, and you just for the time being be happy about the power you have. But that is not exactly where you're heading, right? You have to have a clear direction on where you're going, like in 2 years, 5 years from now, where you're going, what is the vision you're taking this product to. So only when you to realize those, you have these decisions have very large implications in the long run. So it's very important that as a community we decide who is in the governance and who has the right to take these decisions and make sure that these decisions are taken with correct data. Whatever input that is being provided, it is actually coming from the correct source. So otherwise, I think a lot of short-sighted decisions will be taken and everybody will be commonly suffering without even knowing what's happening. This is my take on this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, I have a one that's more open ended and might be interesting to get your take, and that's what has been the biggest challenge so far in setting up this protocol or in building Polkadex?
The biggest challenge has been that uh, we just burned on the boats and relying on the boat to be ready because we relied on certain protocols to be ready when we designed the system because we designed it based on the available protocols at that time. But unfortunately, those things were not production ready, and we couldn't rely on them to put the boat together in shape to make it fit for sale. So we had to, you know, redo certain things from scratch, which has been the biggest challenge. It's been painful, but very exciting and interesting at the same time. I must say, it's been really brainstorming. It was very exciting in the beginning because some of the things didn't work out. So yeah, we are past that phase. We are now much more clear. The waters are clear now, so we have the components in hand to implement. So it should be much faster from here. So this has been the biggest challenge right from the day one.
Yeah, that's yeah, I guess it's like you're relying on all these different, building blocks. And so if one
Yep.
of them isn't there, then you can't put the window together, you can't put the door. Yeah. Yeah, I guess
Yeah, I mean,
that
it's
makes
just
sense.
about relying on things, and maybe there are two options with you: either wait till it's ready, or see if there's an alternative for the time being to see if we can make use of it and get started. Without indefinitely
Hmm.
waiting for things to happen around you. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I have one here about the validator wait list. Uh, do you know when the validator wait list will get fixed?
Honestly, I will leave uh, such decisions to Gautam
Yeah.
because he clearly knows how it's going to affect the bridge and the protocol, and so I wouldn't want to comment on that, please.
Okay. Okay. No worries.
Yeah.
Next
Yep.
time, yeah, we'll try to get Gotham's word on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, okay. Do you want to take a few live questions, Vivek?
Sure. Yes. Let's go.
All right, then. If you guys have a question, just ask to speak, and I'll make you a speaker, and we can get you talking.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, I have a question. Oh, hey, Pablo. Yeah,
Hey.
so I'm
Hey.
wondering what features are needed for the order book to be put on mainnet. For example, do you need limit orders to work, or is it when all of the features marked as soon are completed? Um, and I guess as a follow-up, do you worry that Polkadex will lose its first mover advantage?
I think we will kickstart with the basic um, orders. Like, you know, if you meant, are you asking about whether it is complete,
I'm
the
asking
different
about
types
what
of orders?
sorry, I'm asking about what features are needed for you to put the order book on mainnet.
Hmm.
Because at the moment there are a couple of features that are marked as soon. Like, is it when all of these are completed, or
Yeah, I think we need the basic features to be ready before we roll out to the mainnet. So more than the features, I would say it's got to do with the stability of the order book that is actually getting um, load on the TE, the enclave. So um, so so once we feel that all of these, I think it's more of a security question than any of the feature questions. So once it is uh, once the team feels that okay, it is acting stably, like when you place an order, it doesn't go through, or if there's any delays or getting disconnected and all of those kind of things, right? So once that is okay, I think it will be ready for mainnet. Yes, that is my
Okay,
understanding.
that makes sense. So then some features will still be incomplete, but you can still push it to mainnet
Yeah,
just
we can still
iterate.
push it. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I think we need to get into the mainnet as soon as possible, and we need to start onboarding users as soon as possible as well. Yeah, we need to focus on generating trading volume there at the earliest. That is the primary goal, and any additional features that might just help the in the future can be done in parallel.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for your question, Ken.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
Anybody else have any questions for Vivek?
Well, I guess if no one else is going to ask, I also. Are there any significant changes being made to your development process, like moving to a sort of iterative approach now?
Yes, it's an internally deliberate move to do that, to make it more, because we feel that once we've done it, it's become more focused, and we are able to hit the milestones, right, more efficiently and sooner than we are expected. So all of the energy and focus can be channelized properly. Yep,
Right.
it's going really well now. Yes, there's more focus and more progress every day.
Yeah, it's a lot less stressful when you sort of have shorter goals instead of sort of one big goal that you need
Yeah,
to actually.
because you had three different meetings. Like one is about the idea, then you have the pool, and then you have the order book, and then you have the parachain. You just
Right.
get you just things will be moving, but you just, sometimes it's just very inefficient. Yes.
Right. Do you think that the team needs more developers right now in order to sort of reach the goals that you want to reach?
Well, I don't think we need. It's not a matter of more engineers. It's about more focus at the moment, is what we think is the crux of the things that are being handled. And of course, once we have more, um, once we have the order book on mainnet, and once we have the once we have the milestones being hit on a regular correct basis, then we can think of expanding the team. And especially in this market, it is more wiser to keep uh, pushing out your releases in time, rather than just trying to hire another 50 people and get everything going on parallelly, which we think it will be a waste of resource in this market.
Right. Right. And I guess sort of one source of the delays is just unknowns. Like there are sometimes things that you just don't know and you have to do research with. Uh, can you say that you're out of this stage of research and it's mostly just implementation and implementing the necessary features, or other stuff that still you don't know, like how long it will take? And
Yeah, until it hits the mainnet and users are onboarded, mm, anything could break, right? I'm not saying anything, but this is the first time an enclave has actually been used for such a in such scale, and so uh, it looks really good right now. So any challenges that happen over time needs to be tackled at that moment, in every phase. So but I must say that all of the initial difficulties about building stuff from scratch is not there anymore. No, it's more about adapting and deploying these protocols to work in the scale that is required for regular users to start using it, like production scale, right? So that initial challenges are not there now. It's more of adaptational challenges about using these protocols at scale, which has never been done before. It's the first
right,
time this architecture is going into production, which is why if something that happens, it should happen in the test net. So if everything should be working, then it should work fine in the mainnet as well. So
Right.
yeah. So, but yeah, the worst is over. Yes, like you mentioned. Yeah, the worst is over. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I guess you mentioned the enclave. Are we using AWS to for the enclave,
No,
or
no, no,
is it
not right now. No, it's our own enclaves.
right? And there are no security issues with that because I know that TEE is there have been no sort of remote execution exploits, but if you
Mm-hmm.
have access to the hardware, I believe there are a
Mm-hmm.
couple exploits. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess
Yeah.
how are you preventing maybe rogue employees from exploiting the hardware?
Yeah. For now, let's just get the system working properly with the kind of number of transactions and everything. Then we will see how to look into the security once we go, before production. Okay. That is
Right.
something we
Yeah, that's
can
fair.
design at the end. Yeah. Yeah. Right now, it's too early to do that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, my last question was there was a question about PDEX lasting through the bear market. I'd like to rephrase it as what is the cash runway for Polkadex at the moment?
Well, I think some of these questions are very private to the company. So I want to reiterate that anybody who wants to know about the company's cash balance and all of that should ideally be on the, they should be on the board of the company or something, they should be on the directly on the, otherwise it's tricky to give out these information. It's not really going to sit, it's internal strategies, right? So unfortunately, I cannot give that out in public,
Right. But I guess
If
you
you
can
ask
say
any
that
company, they're not going to sue them. Sorry?
I guess you can say like the way you're spending in a year's time, you won't go bankrupt, like something like that. Like you can say you'll be around for 3 to 5 years,
We'll be
or is
around for
that
10 years. Is that good?
okay? Yeah,
Great.
yeah,
We're not going anywhere. Yeah.
cool.
Thank you,
Thank
Kev,
you.
for all your questions. Anybody else have any questions, or should we call it a day? There were some people raising their hands earlier, but uh, none seem to be now. Um, yeah, if anybody has any questions, speak up. Okay, I think yeah, there don't seem to be any more people wanting to speak up. So Vivek, maybe if you have any closing thoughts, anything you'd like to share, um, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. One of the things I see is that we have one of the best, um, I mean, from a decentralization point of view, we have one of the best set of users and community. And I think we need to channelize that energy. If we channelize it properly, I think we are really up for something big here, because I don't see many communities that are in the ecosystem right now which are so actively participating and involving and passionate about what we're doing. So we need that to keep happening. And it is not that we don't like any criticism at all. We always encourage that. We want feedback from everybody. But if we get in the right channel, in the right way, so that it doesn't really affect the morale of people working, it will become very constructive. Okay, so we can work on all of these feedback properly, and for the betterment of the product, which is actually for everybody's good, right? So there's a huge advantage we have, because we are directly getting that feedback from the users itself. So if we can actually channelize that energy in a positive way, I think we can go a long way to build a great product for everybody. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to that to happen. And if there's anything that it can be self-governed, the community and the leaders who are actually very influential in the community, they have a responsibility to play there. So make sure that it is actually channelized in the right way, so that it is helpful for the team as well, you know. And that is all the requests I have. And I'm so far, if you look at it, I'm extremely happy the way things are going. So keep the criticism coming, no problem, but make it very professional and sharp, and to the point, and so that people can actually work on it and complete those tasks. Right? Yep. Thank you. That's all I
Awesome,
have to say.
awesome. Thank you, Vivek. Yeah, keep us on our toes, I think is the is the way to summarize it. All right. Then thank you, Vivek, and thanks everybody for joining. Uh, Thank you for all your questions, pre-submitted or live, and take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.